Welcome to Honeybee, real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is Dennis, and this is the story of how my 8-year marriage came to an end. Over breakfast, with nothing more than a smirk and a lie, and how, just a week later, a single hidden letter shattered everything I thought I knew. When I think back to the early days with my wife, Joan, it feels almost unreal how perfectly life seemed to fit together. I married her during what I believed was the best year of my life. At that time, I was working as an aeronautical engineer, the career I had dreamed about since childhood. I used to spend nights poring over books about airplanes, sketching designs in the corners of my notebooks. Finally, I was living that dream. The job paid well, with housing and travel benefits on top. So money was never something we had to worry about. Life felt steady, comfortable, almost effortless. And Joan? She was everything I thought I could ever want. Beautiful, kind, and supportive. Right after we got married, she told me she didn't plan to work. I told her that was fine. My income was more than enough for the two of us. And if she wanted to focus on home, or even just do her own thing, I had no complaints. I loved her. And when you truly love someone, especially in the beginning, you don't measure what you give, you just give. I made sure she had everything. Weekend getaways with her friends, long vacations with her family, spa appointments, designer bags, fancy dinners, gifts for her siblings, you name it. She never had to ask twice. And I was proud of it. Providing for her made me feel like a real man, like I was doing right by my wife. She always thanked me, too, often enough to make me feel appreciated. We agreed to wait on having children. Neither of us was in a rush. We wanted time to enjoy each other, to travel, to build a strong foundation before taking that step. And honestly, those first years were good. We laughed often, built little routines together, shared meals, stayed up late watching shows. I believe we had something solid, something lasting. Our finances were stable. Our emotions seemed aligned. Looking back, I see now how easy it is to confuse routine with true happiness. For a while, everything stayed steady. Joan liked the predictability, and I enjoyed being the one to provide it. But then came the year that everything changed. My team was assigned a critical project, developing a safety component for a new commercial aircraft. It was high pressure, high stakes, with impossible deadlines. And though we'd done this kind of work before, this project came with more scrutiny than ever. Months after completion, disaster struck. A plane was forced into an emergency landing due to a system failure, traced back to the very component we designed. A tiny miscalculation had caused it. No lives were lost, thank God, but the damage was severe. Lawsuits piled up, contracts were canceled, and the fallout hit fast. I hadn't designed that specific piece, but I was the lead engineer. I had signed off on it. That was enough. One morning, before I'd even finished my second cup of coffee, the board called me in. By the end of the meeting, I was unemployed. Still, I told myself we'd be okay. I had savings, carefully managed for years by a financial advisor I trusted. Losing my job was painful, but I figured we had a cushion. That illusion didn't last long. Within days, when I tried to arrange a withdrawal, my advisor vanished. Calls unanswered. Emails bouncing back. His office locked up. With the help of a lawyer, I learned the truth. He had been mishandling client funds for years, gambling with our money, taking loans in our names, even failing to pay taxes. Everything was gone. Worse than gone, I was left in debt I didn't even know existed. I'll never forget the weight of that moment. My chest felt crushed, my head spinning with one thought. How was I going to tell Joan? When I finally did, she barely reacted, just stared at me like I was a stranger who had wrecked her life. Then she said flatly, "So what now?" From that day forward, it was like a wall went up between us. We still lived under the same roof, but the warmth, the sense of partnership I thought we had, was gone. And for the first time, I wondered if I really knew the woman I had married. The collapse came fast. I hired a top lawyer, far more expensive than I could afford, to go after the advisor. I wanted justice. But I learned quickly that justice is neither fast nor cheap. His attorneys dragged things out endlessly, twisting blame, making me feel like I was the one on trial. Court hearings drained me emotionally and financially. At the same time, I was desperately job hunting. 15 years of experience, strong recommendations, yet rejection after rejection rolled in. Companies called me overqualified or said they were moving in another direction. I had never felt more disposable. The silence between interviews was unbearable. Meanwhile, bills kept arriving. At home, Joan grew colder. She questioned everything. What are you doing all day? When are you getting a real job? She wasn't screaming, but her disappointment cut deeper than any anger could. I missed the life we had. I missed her laughter. But that life was gone. By the third month, I had no choice but to accept a job paying less than half my old salary. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't me. The work was grueling, the hours long, and the paycheck barely covered the basics. Certainly not the mortgage on our big house. No matter how hard I worked, it felt like I was drowning, and the water kept rising. Eventually, I sat Joan down. Exhausted, ashamed, I told her the truth. If we didn't sell the house, we'd lose everything. At first, she accused me of giving up too easily. But when the foreclosure notice arrived, she couldn't deny reality. Her parents stepped in. Or rather, her mother did. "You can stay in our guest room," she said, like it was a favor. I swallowed my pride and agreed, though every part of me screamed not to. We packed what little we could and moved in. From the first day, I felt unwanted. Her father made sure I knew it. One evening, when Joan was in the kitchen, he looked me in the eye and said, "I'm only tolerating you because of my daughter." I didn't argue. I didn't have the energy. I was already weighed down, selling our house for insultingly low offers, juggling legal fees, paying what bills I could, while living in a house where I felt like an intruder. Joan, meanwhile, drifted through the days as if nothing had changed. I kept going, painting her father's garage, helping where I could, forcing myself to smile and be polite while inside, I was unraveling. And then came the morning it all ended. I had been outside working, and when I came into the kitchen, breakfast was already over, plates in the sink. Joan walked in, not even looking at me, and slid a manila envelope across the counter. I opened it, expecting paperwork about the house or the case. But as soon as I saw the heading, my stomach dropped. Divorce petition. I froze, stared at it. Finally, I managed to ask, "Why?" She didn't answer, just turned and walked out. Her parents kept talking in the living room, never even glancing my way. That night, I didn't sleep. By morning, I signed the papers, not because I agreed, but because I couldn't drag it out. I packed a bag, left, and called a friend. Thank God, he told me to crash on his couch. That was the end of my marriage. 8 years gone. A week later, I texted Joan about collecting my tools. She said they were away on a trip and gave me the code to get in. At the house, I gathered my things, and that's when I noticed a small pile of unopened mail. I wouldn't usually touch it, but one envelope had my full name. The sender was a private financial firm I had never worked with. Curious, I opened it. Inside was a proposal for an out-of-court settlement over the mishandled investments. They wanted to resolve things quietly. My heart pounded. Why hadn't my lawyer seen this? I snapped a photo and sent it to him. He was shocked too, said he'd never received anything. He got on the phone immediately. Over the following weeks, negotiations began. To my surprise, things turned in my favor. In the end, I recovered most of the money I thought was lost forever. Seeing the final numbers was like breathing again after being underwater too long. But along with relief came the truth I hadn't expected. Through a mutual acquaintance, I learned why Joan had really left. She had been seeing someone else. I don't know how long, and honestly, I didn't care anymore. I didn't explode. I didn't demand explanations. I didn't try to hurt her back. I just let her go. Because if someone could discard 8 years so easily, they were already gone long before the final goodbye. With the money recovered, I didn't splurge. I bought a modest home in a quiet neighborhood. No show, no pressure. Just peace. I started gardening, living quietly, and that's where I am now. Life didn't turn out the way I planned, but it's mine again. To anyone still listening, thank you. I'm moving forward quietly and fully on my own terms.